Tonight, barely a week after tensions surfaced between Johnson, Asiedu, Nketia, and Haruna Iddrisu, the NDC Council of Elders issues what some describe as veiled threat with no teeth to appointees and party members campaigning prematurely for their flag bearer ambitions, as the directive stops short of naming individuals or outlining sanctions to those who flout the order.
We have to change the forward line of parliament. President Mahama disagreed with me, but I said that, look, I say, my brother Haruna, said somewhere.
Not the other thank you tour, the proper thank you tour of President Mahama. Proper thank you tour of President Mahama.
Well, tonight on Top Story, we ask, as leaders of the party and government, why is President Mahama not cracking the whip on his own appointees and members? Yeah, we examine it. Brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, Enjoy a Holy Sleep, and also by Shield Pension Trust into the future with you. This is also live on Love 99.5 FM, 99.5 in Kumasi, ATL 100.5 in Cape Coast, and Radio Max 105.1 in Takrad, and several of our affiliates across the country. My name is Samuel Kojo Brews. Tonight, the NDC's Council of Elders has ordered party members and groups to stop all forms of premature presidential campaigning within the party. While invoking Article 42 of the party's constitution, the Council of State or the Council of Elders did not name alleged offenders or state what sanctions would apply to those who flout the directive. This comes barely a week after tensions surfaced between Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu and NDC National Chairman Johnson Asiedu Nketia. In a statement over the weekend, the party's Council of Elders imposed a ban on all forms of endorsements, mobilization, and publicity linked to the presidential ambitions of any prospective candidate in a bid to halt what it describes as premature campaigns to succeed President John Mahama. Now, the council says it reached a decision after a meeting with President Mahama himself, who under the NDC constitution remains the leader of the party. Barely a month ago, Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama, issued a similar caution to members of government to caution them against what is happening, what he described as something that can rock the boat, and that everybody must be concerned about how this government performs. My colleague Michael Ashley joins me in studio with details of that earlier warning from Dr. Callistus Mahama. Michael, what did Dr. Callistus Mahama say at that particular time?
I mean, at the time, he said the timing was deeply concerning, describing it, quote, a quiet danger that creeps into political life, not with noise, but with whisper, unquote. Now, according to him, that moment appears to be approaching far too early, especially when the administration was barely a year and a half into its mandate. He warns that attention can drift from governance to succession, stressing that to turn even partially from that task towards personal political calculations is not just premature, it is a quiet form of neglect. He's urging restraint and discipline. He says the pursuit of personal ambition creates a quiet erosion of performance despite discipline and trust. And he says that public officials must prioritize governance. He continues to add that, quote, those who cannot subordinate ambition to duty risk doing injustice to both. And where necessary, he's saying that there is honor in stepping aside. Ultimately, he says this is not a time for leadership contests, stressing that the focus must be on delivery and not succession.
Stay with me because I'll come back to you again. But this warning came against the backdrop of a recent public disagreement between Johnson, Asiedu Nketia, and Haruna Iddrisu over competing thank you tours within the same political party. While President John Mahama has been undertaking his own nationwide thank you tour following the NDC's victory in 2024 elections, the chairman of the party, Asiedu Nketia, has also been on a separate tour across the country, which started more than a year ago. Now, speaking on the president's tour, Haruna Iddrisu appeared to downplay the chairman's exercise, describing it as merely a curtain raiser. Listen to him.
During legacy was to have this Boale College of Education established in this area. And I recall when President came for his thank you tour, not the other thank you tour, the proper thank you tour of President Mahama. Proper thank you tour of President Mahama as President Flag Bearer. What cannot be said, because we can say it. A proper thank you of President Mahama, not the curtain raiser one. Not the curtain raiser one. When President Mahama came for his thank you, he assured the people of Tinga, thanks to your MP, that they will get a dedicated STEM school. We will be there shortly. That school, when you start from kindergarten, you will see your end at senior high school in the same building. It is now my honor and privilege to introduce to you your own son, President of the Republic, who keeps his word.
Now, the exchanges intensified when Johnson Asiedu Nketia, during his own tour, revealed that he pushed through the 2024 parliamentary leadership reshuffle despite reservations from President Mahama, including the removal of Haruna Iddrisu as majority leader then.
Then new things were emerging. And I said that we have to change the forward line of parliament. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to win elections. President Mahama disagreed with me. But I said that, look, you have elected me as chairman of this party. I am the coach of the party going into the election. So let me make the changes that will win us the election. When we win, we all enjoy together. Since I made that change, I say, my brother Haruna, said somewhere, the other guy, Muntaka, he also said something. Let people come, new people come, and you sit on the bench and watch. There was hell. And people started thinking that somebody who has been my friend for more than 20 years has certainly become my enemy. I said, how can Haruna become my enemy? He cannot become my enemy.
So that is the chairman of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia. Then both as Asiedu Nketia himself and Haruna Iddrisu have frequently been mentioned among possible contenders to succeed President John Mahama, although neither has publicly declared any intention to contest the flag bearership. Global Info Analytics says there are several other names also attracting attention within the party. Michael Ashola is still with me in the studio with Michael. What more do we know about the front runners in the NDC?
And Brace, we should put across that none of these individual names that we are mentioning has categorically or formally announced that they are going to stand in any of these elections. But according to Global Info Analytics, in some of the polls that have been running recently, these are some of the favorite individuals that have been on the minds of people, assuming that they are going to run to succeed President John Dramani Mahama. These include National Chairman Johnson Asiedu Nketia, whose ongoing thank you tour has raised eyebrows among some who see it as early positioning. Also, there's Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, who has become more visible publicly, organizing corporate works and engaging more directly in national conversation. There's also the Vice President, Professor Jenano Pokwajiman, who is also consistently mentioned alongside Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu, who has stepped out engagement across the country. We heard them directly respond to the other thank you tour, which is being led by the national chairman of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia. And then there's Finance Minister Dr. Kasila Tufosin, who has kept a relatively low profile but continues to feature strongly in the polling data from Global Info Analytics Brace.
Now, all of this has attracted the attention of the party's Council of Elders, which has released a statement that many are describing as a statement without teeth. What is the statement? Let's know.
Well, Brace, so this is a 2-page statement, and it talks about more importantly that the Council of State, separating the Council of State from the president, who is supposed to be the leader of the party, that the Council of State held a meeting with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. It says that following extensive deliberations on matters concerning party unity, discipline, and the collective responsibility The council notes with concern the growing unease among sections of the party and the wider public regarding reports of premature presidential campaigns and related political activities by individuals and groups within the party. The council wishes to remind all members that the NDC is currently focused on delivering on the mandate entrusted to it by the people of Ghana. It goes on to say that the council further draws attention to the provisions of Article 42, which talks about who the leader of the party should be and what they should be doing at this critical point in time. And then goes ahead to say that until the appropriate constitutional processes have been initiated and the National Executive Committee has determined the timetable and guidelines for the conduct of presidential primaries, no individual, group, or interest bloc is authorized to undertake or promote any form of presidential campaign, whether directly or indirectly. According to the Council of Elders, they are now directing all persons engaged in such activities to cease forthwith. These include all forms of campaigning, mobilization, endorsements, publicly or related activities intended to advance the presidential ambitions of any prospective candidate. And really, that's where the statement actually ends. The last sentence does not talk about any individual, does not mention anybody, and does not go ahead to say or to outline any sanctions that will come to anybody who decides to break these laws. And this is the Council of State. They sit at the very top of the party, as we're not forgetting. So finally, the statement says that they are calling on all party members to remain focused on the larger task to reset the country.
We'll delve into this here on Top Story. Stay on. Well, Godwin Akogan is Deputy Director of Communications of the NDC. He joins us on the phone lines now, as well as Haruna Mohammed, Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, and Inisa Fuseni, former MP for Tamale Central. Let me start with you, Godwin Akogan. I'm grateful for joining us. Now, the council says that those campaigning must cease forthwith. But what exactly counts as campaigning?
Right, thank you very much. And then let me correct the impression that this is coming from the Council of State. In fact,
no, it is your Council of Elders.
The Council of Elders
your Council
of our party.
Yes, yeah.
And, this is an appeal to everyone with an intention to contest for presidential elections. Per the dictates of our Constitution, when we empower, we have 2 years. When we empower, it's 1 year to the elections where we elect our candidate. But in opposition is 2 years. So we are in a state of reorganization. We are currently at the branch level. And this is a timely appeal from the Council of Elders to ensure that all hopefuls will stick to the plan for the reorganization. And when God wills, somewhere next year, the National Executive Committee will come out with a plan, answering with the guidelines for presidential election. As we speak, we don't have any guidelines for any presidential election. That is why the call came yesterday.
So that's why we want to.
People were saying that it should have come earlier than this. Yes.
But Godwin, we want to understand, if you say that someone is campaigning, what constitutes campaigning in this case?
Campaigning is soliciting for votes, soliciting for attention, soliciting for support and all that. That is campaigning.
But has anybody done that?
In fact, there is a proverb that says that where elders will sit and see, young ones will stand on mountains but cannot see that far. So if our Council of Elders are seeing that there's something happening beyond our eyes, there's the call to bring our attention to that.
So if the Council of Elders are seeing what the young ones are not seeing, why did they fail to name people who they know are doing exactly what they say they shouldn't do?
It wouldn't be fair, because when names are mentioned in times like this, it gives a different impression. And people can misconstrue it and mean that they are setting people up for attack and all those. So in their wisdom, they decided that they'll put a statement this way. Those who are engaged in that, they know themselves and they will know that, the Council of Elders have seen what is happening and they would do the right thing.
But as leaders, if they want to really make people see them as meaning the words they're putting out, should they really think about the interpretation people will give it? Shouldn't they just
I
go
didn't
ahead?
hear what you said.
I'm saying that should they be worried about the meanings people will give to their words? Why shouldn't they just go ahead and name people and say, you, stop what you're doing?
No, it will be unfair to them,
okay.
You understand, right, for names to be mentioned at this stage. People automatically will come to a defensive posture, and that is what we want to avoid. So if this is a general statement to everyone hopeful of becoming the next leader of this party, it means that you have the party at heart. And if you have the party at heart, it means that you will listen to what the Council of Elders are saying, so that we'll all be on the same wavelength.
The Council of Elders conferred with the president. Can we then infer that the president has concerns in what is happening?
Per the meeting on Friday, I can tell you that there were a lot of things that was on the table for discussion. And I wouldn't single out that this is the main reason for the discussion. There were many issues concerning the party reorganization, the way forward for the party, amongst others.
So the president had some concerns?
I wouldn't say the president had as concerns or doesn't have concerns. The most important thing is that the Council of Elders are the ones writing this letter, and the Council of Elders were the ones who called for the meeting and all that. So you should also appreciate the fact that once we are in power, the leader of the party is the president. Whether he has concerns or he doesn't have concerns, he's the leader of the party. So if the suggestion coming from the Council of Elders is something worth noting, then you also agree that if that is it, then let's have the release and address it to those hopeful.
Okay. Do stay with me. Let me bring in Haruna Mohammed, who is Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. Haruna, so the Council of Elders of the party are warning people for early campaigning. From where you sit, what do you make of this particular statement from the Council of Elders?
Thank you very much, Bruce. I would like to say good evening to your charity listeners and followers of social media, and my senior lawyer, and my brother who was just speaking from the NDC. It's very clear that the NDC is coming back to understand what we saw earlier, and we made proposals for an early conference, and they were attacking that particular decision and calling it top down or whichever, which we told them that this is a constitutional matter. I am happy they are quoting aspect of their party constitution, which clearly states the date and the mandate on which it is being stated. But also, if you read the letter very carefully, it means that President Mahama is worried about what is going on. He took part in the decision making. He consented to what they have written, and that is why it is out there. And again, if you see what is happening, it tells you that there is clear division within the NDC, because President Mahama is the leader of the party, and there's no ambiguity in it. President Mahama is doing something else. The national chairman and some other groups are doing something else. And even so, President Mahama or members of government have their preferred candidate when it comes to the presidential primaries of the NDC.
Where did you hear? Where did you hear that President Mahama has his preferred candidate?
I'm saying that members of government and President Mahama will have their preferred candidate. President Mahama has a casting vote in the NDC presidential primaries. So most definitely he has a candidate. So, and as a sitting president, he's very much concerned about who will succeed him as a flag bearer. So for him to participate in the meeting and raise those particular concerns before him, and this has occasioned a letter to be issued. Tells you how concerned he is, and that is why he took part in that particular decision.
Well, Akogan says he wouldn't say this was a concern of the president, but there were an array of issues at that particular discussed at the meeting.
Yeah, but it was also part of the meeting. It was part of the topic that were discussed. And the letter is very clear that upon deliberation, so while they deliberated, you don't need everybody to agree. And even if majority carries the day, the minority cannot come out and say they did not agree with that. But this was deliberations that they had, of which he was included, because the meeting was called by the Council of Elders, and he participated in that meeting as the leader of the party. And at the end of the day, a communique was being issued from the deliberations that they had. And I am telling you that this is something that we must note, that there's a clear division within the NDC. And what we saw earlier, what we as MPP saw earlier, and called for an early conference, which was being put through here and there, to what they are seeing today. We cited these reasons that they are citing in their letter, but people were not understanding. People were not appreciating the fact. But today, the NDC is coming back to it. So what we see 100 years, it will take NDC 200 years to see it. That is what it tells you. And that is why we say that we are always the pace setters of democracy in Ghana. And we have demonstrated that. We have done it before. Our contribution to parliamentary and presidential election system in Ghana, and all the new introductions in terms of how the voting systems is being done, how register is being built, how ID cards are being done, and the biometric system, and everything that has happened to this country has come on the back of the MPP, either in opposition or in government. So when we are saying something, they should sit and listen to us and observe very well, because we have done it. We finished that on 31st of January, and we cited several reasons on that. And these reasons are what is captured in the Council of Elders caution. So
I'm grateful, Haruna Mohammed. Godwin, let me just wrap up with you before I come to Inusa Fuseni. Is this how you intend handling the divisions Haruna says is in your party?
In fact, we don't have divisions in our party, and we can't have divisions. Obviously, there will always be a day of an election. There will be a day that there will be a timetable, and people will definitely contest. We appreciate that, and that is democratic. And MPP shouldn't hide with their protection of Bawumia as as a strategy to prevent some of these things, unless you don't believe in democracy. If indeed you think that that is the way to go, then you should change your constitution so that you do your presidential elections before you go for your branch, constituency, regional, and others. But it is the protection of Bawumia. That is the decision you took.
Godwin, I'm grateful to you for your time here. Inusa Fuseni is former member of parliament for Tamale Central. Mr. Fuseni, how should your party, go about dealing with these, issues that are cropping up? Is this the best way? The statement from the Council of Elders.
Well, that is. Let me thank Akugan for throwing more light on what happened last week Friday, and also to say that. Haruna Mohammed should go look at his history. The MPP is the only party that suspended people who obtained their legitimacy to lead the party through a universal suffrage when they sacked their chairman, who was elected at the Delegates Congress in Tamale, and other officers who were elected. It is only MPP that did that. No party has ever done that. Now, so let me say that yes, a party has institutions. And the institution of Council of Elders is a very important institution in the organization of a party. It's a recognition of the fact that there are people who sit up there and watch what happens in the party and are able to bring the members of the party into line and ensuring that the ultimate will of the people who have given the party the mandate to lead the country is realized. So this is a very important decision made by the Council of Elders. Now, the Council of Elders are worried and concerned, and I will not be surprised if His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is also worried and concerned, because he's been given a 4-year mandate to rule this country.
and to deliver on the manifesto promise we took to the people. If 1.5 years into his administration, people are already prepositioning themselves to succeed him, it could bring about a distraction and indiscipline in the pursuit of the manifesto objectives of the party. So the Council of Elders is beginning to see that if they don't whip people into line, our march towards resetting Ghana will be derailed, and that's why they issued the statement.
Okay, I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. Godwin, let me ask you: once the statement says they should stop, if they don't, what will happen?
The first one is an appeal. And we know that these are senior members of our party, and they would comply.
But if they don't comply, what will you do?
They will.
Godwin, I'm asking a question about in the circumstance they don't, adhere to this plea. What will happen?
And I'm assuring you that they will. So we shouldn't get to that point.
So there are no sanctions that will be applied.
This is an appeal. So you don't sanction people when you are appealing to them. And these are experienced people, political leaders of our party, that they will comply.
Okay, but as a leader, isn't there any intention for the president to crack the whip when people go against such a directive?
In fact, that is why we are bringing this to the notice of all. So it's not about punishing people or threatening people and all that. So the most important thing is that the Council of Elders have spoken. We appreciate it, and we know that everyone who has hopes or ambitions to become a leader of this party will first do the right things. And that is the assurance.
This is a plea, so it means that they can decide to adhere or not adhere. Nobody can do anything.
They will adhere to it.
Okay, all right. Godwin Akogan, I'm grateful to you, Deputy Director of Communications for the NDC. Dr. Kwame Asante is a Senior Lecturer, Political Science Department, University of Ghana. Doc, what is your own reading of what's happening in the NDC, where the Council of Elders is now issuing statement to plead with frontliners to not start campaigning now?
It's a good directive. We have got it, but as to whether they will be able to get the courage to bring people to lie is another thing. Recently, we saw what happened in the NDC. It is fresh in our mind. They issue all manner of directives. At the end of the day, they lack the courage to deal with the issue. My position on this matter is that yes, you want to encourage your people to work and support the president to achieve his vision. Perfect. But you can also prevent people for working towards achieving their goal. It's a very delicate balance. My understanding of this thing is that what they have done is the right thing by advising. If there is anybody who wants to disrespect that order or gloss over that, then
but once there are no sanctions attached, will that be heavy enough for people to say, well, we need to adhere to this, else we face the consequences?
I believe they don't need sanctions. Those people who want to contest, I am sure most of them are in positions of authority. So if you are not performing, the president will kick you out. But I disagree with them preventing people from expressing themselves, working to achieving their aim. We don't join political parties just to add to the numbers, but we work within the party to also achieve our goal one day. What if I were in authority and I was a member of that party? My position would be that, look, you can work towards your dream, but make sure that you help the president to achieve his vision. For me, that would have done the trick. But a blanket statement, don't do this, don't do that, I can say without fear of contradiction, people will do it and they will damn the consequence. But an advice of this nature, yes, without sanctions, I think is in the right direction. and that people who don't want to work, yes, they can be shown the exit. But for me, if you allow them, you don't come out with any sanction and nothing. You rather going to have people who are going to work, demonstrate to the world that they have something under their sleeves for which reason the party should vote for them. It is rather going to encourage people to work and then help the president to achieve his vision. But of course,
okay. I'm grateful to you, Dr. Kwame Asante, Senior Lecturer, Political Science Department, University of Ghana. Up next is Newsnight.
And tonight, Speaker Alban Bagbin expresses surprise at swift passage of the anti-LGBTQI bill amid growing minority concerns.
And in fact, when it was passed on Friday, it was even a surprise to me, because I know that they were going to start the consideration. And so this evening, I have asked the leaders to meet me in my office.
We have details plus the Speaker's call for deeper conversation over rising violence and South African xenophobic attacks as he launches a 4-day interparliamentary conference to find answers to the continent's value challenges.
Also, Ghana Private Road Transport Union backs down on proposed 20% transport fare hike after road transport operators rejected it and declared it illegal.
First release came, that is when the Transport Ministry quickly summons a meeting, then the national officers together with the GRTCC met, and that, we reconsider the decision.
Ghana escalates diplomatic tensions with South Africa over xenophobic attacks as it warns citizens against non-essential travel to SA in a move that signals growing concern over the safety of African nationals in the country. We have details as the country prepares for another round of evacuations coming up in business.
We'll tell you why several oil marketing companies have not reviewed prices despite time due for adjustment.
In sports,
Black Stars boss Carlos Queiroz defends his decision to include Thomas Partey in final World Cup squad despite ongoing legal issues.
The latest of these and many other stories are coming up in the next 60 minutes. Feel free to be a part of the show by sending us a WhatsApp on 055 11 11 997. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Gemma. Appiah.
Details shortly.
We are young entrepreneurs. We're vibrant and we make the trends. When we run sales promos, it literally sells out because we know what's hot and what's not. So when it comes to business, let's show you how we clock it with Telecel Boss Plan.
Telecel Boss Plan is here for young entrepreneurs, CEOs and bosses like you. Whether you're building your hustle or running the whole show, Telecel Boss Plan gives you everything you need to stay on top. Digital marketing tool for your SMS campaigns, data for days, and all the vibes to keep your business tight. Simply dial *5959# or *700# to choose your Telecel Boss Plan package and grow your business like a boss.
Telecel, connecting energies.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana kron kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
Did you know that Ghana currently spends more than 8 billion Ghana cedis annually importing food that can be produced locally? That is why this June, Joy Business and the Super Morning Show, in partnership with the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters, FAGE, bring you the Joy Agribusiness Month 2026 under the theme, From Soil to Sovereignty, Building Ghana's Agricultural Self-Reliance Through Innovation. Join us on the Joy Super Morning Show, Joy News, and across Joy business platforms for a month-long national conversation on Ghana's food security and agribusiness future. Week 1 focuses on government policy, trade and financing for food sovereignty. Week 2 explores research, innovation, mechanization and live coverage of the Ghana Horticulture Expo 2026 from the 11th to the 13th of June at the State House forecourt. Week 3 examines infrastructure, value addition, youth participation and agricultural financing, while Week 4 highlights opportunities across key horticulture value chains. The final week looks at consumer power and Ghana's roadmap to food sovereignty by 2030. Stay tuned to Joy FM and Joy News. Good evening. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has expressed surprise at the swift passage of the anti-LGBTQ bill on Friday. His reaction comes amid sustained criticism from the minority over what they described as dilution of the original document with over 20 amendments to the original draft. First, let's listen to co-sponsor of the bill, John Ntimfojo, address a press conference on the matter in Parliament today.
When we place it before them, in the expectation that the same President Mahama who promised to sign the same bill that he wanted President Akufo-Addo, and we all wanted President Akufo-Addo to sign. However, when that bill was placed, the bill in that form was not presented to President Mahama, but had to be mutilated, had to go through major surgeries, had to be amended, had to be deleted. Original provisions from the bill 22 had to be deleted, redrafted, and 31 insertions made before President Mahama would have it and desire it to sign it. Was that a promise? Was the promise to come and amend, review, mutilate, alterate, dilute the bill before he signs?
He says the bill, as passed in its current form, lacks the ability to clamp down on the very act it intends to prevent.
Let the record reflect, and let no one twist our position. We are not against the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. As a matter of fact, we have been consistent in our position and our principles. We are not against Parliament's authority to legislate, but we are not attacking MPs in any way. All that we are saying is that our concern is twofold. That the bill appears, and not only appears, substantially has lost the force and the bites and the thrusts, the deterrence, the efficacy that it contained and carried in 2024.
That's John Ntimfojo there. He's a co-sponsor of the anti-LGBTQ bill, and my colleague James Aveji has been in Parliament all day. He's joining us on phone for more on this. James, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, is expressing surprise at how swift the bill has been passed. Why?
Well, Ken, according to the Speaker, Friday was supposed to be to the second reading of the bill and go through amendment as well, which we also call the consideration stage. The Speaker said before he left, the instruction which he left behind was for the bill to be considered at its, what was for the bill to be looked at its consideration stage, only to learn later in the day that the bill has been passed, reason he believes that there's not been so much a consensus between both sides of the House, leading to the grandstanding of the minority against what has happened since Friday to now, Monday, 72 hours after that passage.
And in fact, when it was passed on Friday, it was even a surprise to me, because I know that they were going to start the consideration of the bill. And that was the instructions I left before I went to attend to other activities. It was Friday, and members wanted to go home early to their constituencies because we were going to sit today. And so I knew they wouldn't have completed it. But all of a sudden, I read about its passage. I reacted, And later, I saw on TV all the things that happened. And so this evening, I have asked the leaders to meet me in my office. So they will be here for us to go through it. This is such a critical bill that we believe there must be consensus. But it's not about passing bill. It's about implementing it and making sure that it benefits the people. And so leaders of both sides of the house will be with me this evening for us to discuss what next after the passage of the bill. And I'm very sure that being men and women of wisdom will find a way out and to get all Ghanaians to buy and trade. We are grateful to all those who have come out with the commendation of the good work that Parliament has done. But we want to assure them that whatever discussion we'll have will be to better what has already been passed. It won't take any shine of it. But we need all of them to come on board, because without an identity, you have no value.
The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Backbin there. James, what else has been happening in the House of Legislature?
Well, Ken, the Speaker, I must say, was speaking at the launch of the fourth Interparliamentary Conference on Family Sovereignty as well as Value, where that question came up about whether this is a coincidence, passing this bill while Parliament sits. Several parliaments across Africa come together for this conference from Wednesday to Saturday. And now he indicated as part of the deliberations in the coming days, they would have to find solution to the several crises on the continent, including the xenophobic attack happening in South Africa.
Right, and speaking of the xenophobic attacks that you just mentioned, we can now listen to the Speaker.
This year's conference is the fourth session and is being organized at a time when the African continent is confronted with evolving social, cultural, and ideological challenges which continue to impact our family systems, sovereignty, and treasured values. We are meeting at a moment when African values face a dual assault. One, the cultural erosion of globalization on one side, and two, the painful rise of xenophobia within our own continent on the other. When African brothers turn against African brothers, when our children no longer speak their mother tongues, when external ideologies are packaged as universal truths, then Africa must speak with one voice.
James, what more is expected to be discussed in this day 4 of the Interparliamentary Conference?
Well, Ken, as the theme or the conference headline is concerned, he said that there is a need to protect the values of our identity as Africans and win ourselves from external pressures and influence. In addition to that, will be some conversation on AI and how it is affecting the African society in these days.
One, the protection and strengthening of the African family system. Two, sovereignty and the preservation of African cultural identity. Three, the role of parliaments in safeguarding societal values. 4, youth development and moral leadership. 5, legislative responses to emerging social and ideological issues. And 6, strengthening collaboration among African states on issues affecting family and society.
That's the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Backbin there. Let's just stay on the issues regarding the passage of the LGBTQ bill. And Gemma, who do we have?
co-sponsor of the bill, Team Kojo, joins us now. Welcome to a News Night. You raised concerns over the passage of the bill and how you described it as diluted. But what do you make of the Speaker's position that on Friday you were supposed to, or Parliament was supposed to consider the bill, not necessarily pass the bill? Hello, Reverend Team Kojo. Do I have you on the line?
Yes, hello.
Hello, welcome to News Nights. Hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. We heard you at the press conference this morning. You raised concerns about the bill which was passed. You talked about the fact that it had been diluted. But we've heard from the Speaker today. He said that in the first place, the bill was not supposed to be passed on Friday. What do you make of his position?
Thank you very much. Well, we made our case clear. We took the whole of Ghana through the media along, went through all the 31 amendments and the major changes that it made in the bill, which render it substantially and materially different, completely bastardized, and completely less efficacious, empty, and not fit for purpose, and far, far, far away from the intendment and object of the bill that the sponsors intended to bring. And so we demonstrated that clearly to Ghanaians, transparently. We also questioned the process of the passage and how some amendments were smuggled in, which point we made on the floor, and the Deputy Speaker Hiafo and Honorable Mahama Yarga disregarded and bulldozed their way through. Complete disregard for the minority, complete disregard for the sponsors of the bill. So they've done a very problematic bill, which is a hypocritical bill, a bill that is far away from the promise they gave. So the Speaker has come and passed this remark that he is surprised that they passed the bill in the manner they did and in the form they have produced it. And he's surprised, and that he's going to call for a meeting to discuss the way forward. That vindicates our position, and that vindicates all the concerns we raised and drew the attention of Ghana to. So we will wait for that meeting and respect that engagement, and we'll state our position at that meeting, and then the best course of action will be discussed. And after the meeting with Speaker, the outcome will be made known to the public.
How possible is it for your issues to be addressed at the meeting that the Speaker will be calling amongst the two leaders? We know that the bill has been passed and is supposed to be transmitted to the President. Before we even get to what the President has to say about it, what do you think that the Speaker can do at this meeting to correct any anomaly that you talk about?
No, not I talk about. What is your interpretation of what Speaker has said? What is your interpretation? What is the interpretation of our listeners of the remarks passed by the Speaker? That does not give you an indication that there's everything wrong with the bill that has been passed. So I will not preempt the outcome of the meeting with Speaker. But if they think that they will still proceed and ferry and transmit a bill that they themselves have conceded is problematic, not fit for purpose, empty, and lacked procedural completeness and fidelity, and a completely departure from what they promised. And that is what they want to go and ferry, for assent and consequential, passage. That is their decision. But we have taken a position. That position will make it clear at the meeting. We will not preempt it. We need to respect Speaker. When our leaders meet them, they will state the position of the caucus. And that is the position of Ghanaians.
Right. The
That
president
position,
has been speaking
the
on the
outcome of
bill,
it.
and he raised the two issues that you've talked about. One, he says there have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed, and that the second one is that there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage, and so he's waiting for it to be transmitted to him, and then they will look at how to legally review it before a decision is taken. That should come to you as some sort of relief, knowing that the president agrees or alludes to the fact that there are some issues with it and he's going to correct it at his end.
So this whole thing is an exercise in dishonesty, an exercise in hypocrisy. So a coordinated scam, well-coordinated scam. You promise that you will sign a bill passed in 2024. You come to power, say no, go and make changes before you bring it. Now the changes become controversial. You still force your way, mutilated the bill, deleted 22 provisions from the original provision, inserted 31, used a very bizarre way, smuggled alien provisions in the bill. You have passed it, and now you're saying we are now trying to go and correct. So what version of correction is the president anticipating to sign? So this is a whole coordinated scam, and Ghanaians, the eyes of Ghanaians have been open to it. That right at the outset, they were not sincere about this bill, but only intended to do politics with it, to win votes, only to use games to play on the minds. If we had not been vigilant and brought to the attention of the public that these are the dangerous introductions, immunity, you have brought about 8 categories of people and organizations. You have them immunity, that they can do anything and everything to promote LGBT, and yet they are above the law. The law will not deal with them. Advocate for it. The law will not deal with them. Are you doing a law for LGBT promoters? Are you doing a law to protect LGBT promoters, or you are passing a law to clamp down on advocacy, promotion, and the enabling of LGBT?
Reverend Ntimfojo, Kenneth here. So what next for the minority? What's the next line of action for you?
So we are waiting for the meeting to be called, and we will state our position for the meeting with Speaker, and the rest will be communicated.
Joining Ntimfojo is a co-sponsor of the anti-LGBTQ bill. Thank you very much. Let's bring you some transport-related stories this evening, because commuters can heave a sigh of relief as the Ghana Private Road Transport Union has backed down on its proposed 20% fare increase. The U-turn comes after other road transport operators declared the hike illegal and blocked its implementation nationwide. The increment was announced by GPRTU and allied transport groups on Friday after consultations with their members and stakeholders, but a press statement on the letterhead of road transport operators said the decision by the group has not gone through the fare adjustment protocol and procedure agreed between the Ministry of Transport and the road transport operators. And Gemma has been going through that particular statement. Gemma, the statement says the fare increment announced on Sunday is illegal. What reasons did they give?
So the road transport operators in this press release stated that the executives of the road transport operators have not engaged the ministry in any transport fare upward adjustments. The decision by the supposed group is illegal as it has not gone through the fare adjustment protocol and procedure agreed between the Ministry of Transport and the road transport operators. When the group released their statement last Saturday, they gave several reasons for which reason they had to increase fares by 20% starting tomorrow. It said that it had become necessary and legitimate to review the fares because of the sustained high cost of fuel and spare parts over the past months. Fuel prices, they say, have remained high, and the cost of tires, engine oil, batteries, and other essential spare parts had gone up significantly, and these were the reasons, or the rise in operational costs have made it difficult for drivers and vehicle owners to maintain vehicles and also remain in business, and that's why they decided to increase the fares. This statement, the early one, was signed by the National Deputy PRO of GPRT of TUC, Samuel Amwa, Eric Latte, also a member of the communications team of the GPRTU, David Abuado, the National PRO of the Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana, and Pauli, National Chairman of the Concerned Drivers Association of Ghana, Kenneth.
Right, and the road transport operators are also calling on the drivers and other stakeholders to disregard same.
So they issued a directive that all road transport operators, unions, associations, drivers, vehicle owners, loading points managers, and allied stakeholders are requested to maintain the existing approved fares and to refrain from implementing any unilateral fare adjustments until further notice. They say they are monitoring the next pricing window, and should there be the need for any fare adjustments, the public will be duly notified, Kenneth.
And Godfred Abubiri is the General Secretary of the GPRTU. He's joining me right now on the telephone lines. Godfred, thank you very much for your time this evening. You released a statement on Saturday, which my colleague just read, announcing to Ghanaians that you were going to increase fares. And now we are hearing from the transport operators that it is not going to happen because you did not go through the right procedure. Really, what is the stance of your union as you speak right now?
Kenneth,
hello,
what
sir.
What you said is the opposite. What you have just told me is the opposite. Because the letters that went around and was circulating, causing fear and panic for a lot of increment, was not signed. If you look at it carefully, the names you mentioned, Amua and Agbado, though that document was not signed.
National Deputy PRO, he doesn't work with the GPRTU. Are you saying that letter is fake?
That exactly so. That document wasn't signed.
It was signed by Agbado.
No. It were names assigned there, put assigned, but not signed. When you read mine, the communique we have just issued, it is assigned and give the date assigned. You saw that?
Right.
Good. So what we are saying is that early on publication was an individual's minded document. And then it suggests that they are going to increase fares coming tomorrow. And they use GPR's name there.
Godfrey, do I get the impression then that there's big division between your unions? Because if one can just get up and write a letter to circulate in the media that there's going to be an increment in fares, and another comes to debunk it, clearly there's some sort of division within your unions, no?
Were the unions even together? They were not together. I don't know why you're saying division. There were no division. They were not together. Concerned drivers union are different. Committed people are different. Two drivers are different. And GPRTU is different. We have another corporate body called the GRTCC, Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council. And when the issue of fare increment comes, we go to meet and then at the ministry, take our discussions and conclude. And then we'll issue a communique, sign it, and give a copy to the minister, and the copies will be sent to our files.
Right. And that meeting happened today. What was the outcome?
The outcome said that we needed to actually notify the public that document, which was circulated earlier, was false. And there's no fair increment that will come tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't want to believe that's the only reason why you held that meeting, is it?
That was the only reason.
Okay, so
because the public were entertaining fears, and others said that if at all there's supposed to be increment, why that sharp increment of 20%? So definitely we needed to act as fast as we can, so to ease the tension that particular document was created.
But there are concerns that why did you wait till this time? Because this communique came out on Saturday, and people started, preparing ahead of the possible increment. Why did it take you too long or this long?
Saturday, the minister was not there.
Did you have to meet the minister before you could debank it?
Of course, he was the person behind it. He said that we have to come and explain.
Oh, so that means that if the minister had not drawn your attention to it, you wouldn't have come out to debank it. Is that the impression I get from you?
Because we are not behind it. If you let me draw your minds back. Within the previous administration, that particular group used to come out and indicate that they are going to increase welfare 20% or 30%. So the whole hear them, we ignore them. But we know that they cannot actually effect something without our consent. So we don't ignore it. So the minister called and said that we need to actually react to that letter to ease attention on the general public.
Okay.
It is not a new thing.
Right. So you've allayed the fears of commuters that there's not going to be an increase in fares, at least in the interim as we speak.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Godfred Abubere is the General Secretary of the GPRTU.
Now, Ken, some oil marketing companies have started increasing the prices of petroleum products at the pumps from this morning. The increase is in line with the 2-week review of fuel prices by the various oil firms in the country as part of the price deregulation policy. My colleague Jason Day from the research desk joins me in studio with the details of the new pricing window. Jason, from the new pricing window, how have fuel prices changed?
Well, Gemma, this is the first pricing window for June 2026, and we see that for petrol, the price floor has actually increased to 15 cedis, 20 pesos per litre. That is up by 60 pesos from 14 cedis, 60 pesos. And for diesel, it has decreased a little from 15 cedis, 49 pesos per litre, down by 32 pesos to increased, right, to 15 cedis, 81 pesos. And then for LPG, that's gas, it has increased to 13 cedis, 48 pesos per kilogram.
What has happened to the tax reliefs that the government announced a month ago?
So we see that the government has partially reversed the fuel relief measures that were introduced earlier to cushion consumers. Specifically, the 36 pesos per litre subsidy on petrol has been completely removed. And also the diesel support has been reduced sharply from 2 cedis per litre to 1 cedi, 7 pesos per litre.
Thank you very much, Jason Day of the research desk.
And Ghana has escalated diplomatic tensions with South Africa over renewed xenophobic attacks targeting Africans, issuing a strong travel warning advising citizens to avoid non-essential travel to that country. Well, government has already undertaken a series of diplomatic interventions, including conveying formal protests at the highest level, summoning the South African Acting High Commissioner in Accra, petitioning the African Union and initiating evacuation measures for Guineans. And my colleague Collins Frimpong is joining me in the studio with details from the statement that was issued by the Foreign Affairs Ministry earlier today. Collins, what is the ministry saying on travels to South Africa?
So government has issued a staying travel advisory urging Ghanaians to exercise extreme caution and avoid non-essential travel to South Africa until further notice. Also, Ghanaians currently in South Africa have been advised to maintain regular contact with the Ghana High Commission for Consular Assistance, as well as also government further indicated that it will continue working with South African authorities to facilitate the safe evacuation of Ghanaian nationals who wish to return home.
And what have been the response of other African countries to South Africa so far?
So for the past 1 month, African countries including Kenya, Malawi, Lesotho and also Zimbabwe have warned its citizens in South Africa to be cautious and also remain indoors due to attacks targeting foreigners. Nigeria is also reportedly expected to begin evacuating its citizens in the coming days.
We know that South Africa is a tourism-dependent country. What has been the impact on that country's economy?
Ken, presently, what we know so far is that the South African tourism industry has been severely impacted. The agency in charge of tourism in the country, that's South African Tourism, has confirmed reports of cancelled travel bookings from several African countries following the xenophobic attacks. In a statement issued on May 28, the agency said it was concerned about the growing impacts the incidents could have on regional travel confidence and also South Africans' reputation as a leading tourism destination on the continent. To add more context, South Africa received 10.5 million tourists in 2025, with African travelers accounting for 4 in every 5 travels.
Collins Frimpong there. Thank you very much for bringing us that particular update. And let's get onto the telephone lines once again and speak to International Relations Analyst Dr. Nana Yaw Mreku. Welcome to the program. I'm sure you've seen the advisory from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Is the government not being too hard on the South African government, some would say? Hello, Dr. Mreku. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so good evening to your viewers, and good evening to you too. Well, if you ask me if the government is not overreacting, I think that, in my opinion, the government reaction is proportionate to the development in South Africa. I think that what is done now is a preventive diplomatic measure, if you ask me. And I think that every government, where it sorts, has a mandate to its people, its citizenry, that it must protect.
So far, we are only seeing prudent action from the Ghanaian government. But this attack is not directed at Ghanaians alone. It's directed at most black Africans in that country. What lessons do you think other African countries can take to Ghana's, response so far?
Well, I think that the response to the xenophobic attack should be collective because, like you said, the impact is collective. And so I think that all countries whose nationals are affected in South Africa must find a way to register their dissatisfaction with the South African government. And I think that other countries are following the shoes of what Ghana, has done by wanting to take their citizens out of that country, and by also quietly engaging in some diplomatic responses to the South African government.
Right. We've been hearing from some South Africans, including key opposition leader Julius Malema, saying that the Ghanaian government overreacted. Do you agree with him?
No, I beg to differ. I think that there is a way to renegotiate looted shops and their compensation for Ghanaians, but there's no way to renegotiate them back to life if they were killed in these threats that were issued to them. So I think that the first thing the government ought to have done or is supposed to do is to get its Ghanaians in distress and Ghanaians whose lives are threatened in that country out. And then we can pursue the diplomatic, routes that has to be done. But I think that it's very unfortunate that it's coming from him. I think that if South Africans were in distress and found themselves in such a situation, Julius Malema would be criticizing the South African government if they were unable to do what the Ghanaian government has done, if the shoe was on the other foot. So I think that for him to have said that is neither here nor there. I think that what the government of Ghana has done so far is proportionate to what the South Africans, what some black South Africans are threatening, Ghanaians for.
And we've gone as high as petitioning the African Union about these attacks, but some say the African Union really is a toothless organization which can't act. Do you share those sentiments?
I want to take your mind to what this does to South Africa than what the African Union will do to South Africa. Look, if you are talking about a country like Ghana with this kind of diplomatic and multilateral clout, a country that was single-handedly with the help of the African Union, able to table a resolution passed at the United Nations level to classify slavery as the greatest crime against humanity. If you have a country such as Ghana taking you to the African Union over South Africa's government inability to protect African migrants in that country, it is a big diplomatic embarrassment to South Africa, not to talk about the fact that Ghana has repatriated 300 of its 300 citizens 300 Ghanaians from South Africa to Ghana. Do you know what it means? The diplomatic embarrassment for somebody to do that. It means that your government is basically incapable of holding or being held to certain standards of a functional government. So what Ghana has done has shown it has brought a lot of political and diplomatic embarrassment to South Africa. And what happens in the African Union will be a further blow to the political image of that country, if you ask me. And I think that Ghana has enough political and diplomatic, leverage, in this particular, route.
Right. Dr. Nana Yao Mriku is an international relations analyst there. Thank you very much. When we return from the break, we will be reading some of the messages you've sent to our WhatsApp platform. But in the meantime, let's do business. George is here.
Well, Kenneth in business, and I'll be telling you why several oil marketing companies have not reviewed prices despite time due for adjustment. And President John Mahama reveals Ghana has been able to finance critical health sectors despite cut in aid from the U.S. government. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials.
Hello? Charlie, I'm at the library. Why do you keep calling me?
Wait, question. What's the capital of Burkina Faso?
Ouagadougou. Bye.
Wait. Which planet is the hottest in the solar system?
Venus. Charlie, why all these questions?
See, I'm playing the MTN Swipe and Win promo. I might cash out some cool 1,000 Ghana cedis today.
Hey, 1,000 cedis. Shh. Charlie, what's the next question?
Join the MTN Swipe and Win promo today. Answer trivia, earn points, and stand a chance to win 1,000 Ghana cedis every day. Weekly cash of 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 Ghana cedis. A brand new Hyundai Texan in the first 3 months, and the ultimate grand prize of 500,000 Ghana cedis. Recharge your account to qualify for the daily draws. To join, visit swipeandwinpromo.mtn.com.gh. Download the My MTN app or dial *5030#. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. TNCs apply.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office,
Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Temania Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cast your mind back to 2022. The prices were rising. The stress was high. Every liter of fuel felt like a sacrifice. Do you remember who stepped forward first? When others were comfortable with high prices, Star Oil chose you. We cut our own profits so you could keep your AC on, keep your engines running, and keep your life moving without the heavy burden. We gave you room to breathe when things felt tight. Because of you, our star savers, we became number 1. Today, the pumps are a battleground. Others are finally cutting prices because they have to. But Star Oil, we do it because we want to. Don't just chase a price, remember a friendship. We were there for you then, and with new innovations coming your way, we are here for you now. Star Oil, still quality and affordable fuels for all.
If you want quality, this be where you belong. Hey, tough, hey, strong. Oh, gonna shout and sing the song. When the sun they hot, syntax no break. When the rain they fall, still no shake. Builders they choose and plumbers they prove. Any project you they start.
Sasso, sasso, e se fume tonton prepon. Sasso, sasso, e se fume tonton prepon. Edrana drumming, yeah, we say, yeah, how can see our malaria? Minya me corn, me sasso spray. Every mosquito study run away. Tonton prepon. Sasso, sasso, mi se fume tonton preko. Come tonton preko. Sasso, kum tonton preko. Nani shamne die demonstronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, oil marketing companies were supposed to have reviewed prices at the pumps from this morning. Now, petrol should have gone up by more than 6%, while diesel could have been kept unchanged or go down marginally. But our checks as of this evening showed that, more than 200 firms that should have reviewed, only few have adjusted prices. So why this delay? Dr. Kojo Ofori is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors.
And as you may have noticed that in the morning, some oil marketing companies still stuck with their previous window prices. That was an indication of old stocks that they still have in their system that they needed to sell at that price before moving on to the product that they've locked in today or the midnight loading that happened. That is what I did mention, that assuming I have more products from the previous window that I've not been able to dispose them of, it's obvious that I'll pass that gains on to the consumers. And like we keep on reiterating, that shows how fair and transparent the market within the downstream petroleum sector is.
Dr. Kojo Ofori is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. Now, President John Mahama has revealed that Ghana is still being able to finance critical health initiatives despite cutting aid from some development partners. The U.S. government, for instance, last year announced cut in U.S. aid support for several countries, including Ghana, putting some fresh pressure on Ghana's budget. But answering questions during his Chatham House engagement in London, President Mahama noted that some drastic measures have been taken to minimize the expected shocks on the economy.
We had factored over the years our cooperation with USAID into our budget. And it went to quite essential things, especially with healthcare. And so the withdrawal was quite abrupt, and we had to find a way of making up for it. And so what we did, and Ghana has come out quite well from the withdrawal. What we did was, the previous government had capped our national insurance. They called it the capping and alignment law. And so every statutory fund had to be a certain proportion of the national budget. And if the fund exceeded that amount, then the extra funds went into the consolidated fund, we call it. And so one of the first things we did was to uncap that fund, the National Health Insurance Fund. And you won't believe that it freed up more than 3 billion cedis, equivalent to almost $300 million, going back into the health insurance fund.
And that is President John Mahama answering questions during his engagement at the Chatham House this evening in London. And the Bank of Ghana has revealed that they are exploring alternative avenues to improve funding to business, especially when it comes to digital credit for small enterprises. Now, the Bank of Ghana has maintained that it is currently engaging some commercial banks to try and deal with this challenge. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiema, disclosed it during an engagement in London today.
So we're brainstorming together. We're saying, there's the Ghana Venture Capital, fund. Should we set up a unit there where we say, look, if you have any rough idea you want to turn into a business plan, just go there, they'll help you to put it together. And then after that, you can approach a bank for financing. But fortunately, I spoke to IFC. IFC has something along that line, just to help people to convert those raw ideas into a form that a bank will be, happy to look at. So it is a general problem, not just for SMEs, but something really needs to be done, to shore up private sector credit. But one thing we are doing for the individual level, we are pushing ahead with digital credit. It should be possible for people to raise amounts on their phones. It should be possible for someone who wants to start a watche business and needs just 20,000 cedis to go on the phone and then raise that capital, manage it all by themselves. And so we are working on the technology side of things. Very soon that constraint will be addressed. So yes, it's a problem that we are aware of. It will go away. We just have to sustain the low interest rate, stable exchange rate environment. It's a new regime altogether. Our people are not used, to operating at this level. So we are looking forward to see the global shock go away, and then we'll return to these ways again.
And that is the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiema, speaking at an event in London today. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Well, thank you very much, George. And speaking of President John Mahama speaking in London today, Gemma, he's also been talking about the bill which has been signed, which has been passed by Parliament. You put that question to
Reverend Ntim Fojo.
Yes. And he says that the bill is still far from becoming law because there was no quorum, and he sees some legal challenges and other hurdles that needs to be crossed before it becomes law. Right, you're still listening to Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. Philip Abuchi in Nketia says, Shai says, I want to find out from John Ntim Fojo if a gay person comes to him seeking counseling as a reverend minister, will he turn him over to the police? Again, if a gay person suffers a mob attack, will he kick against any lawyer defending their rights? And this one is Kwabla Kotoka Dovlo in the Volta region. He says, I'm very positive and sure that the president, John Mahama, is ready to assent to the bill. Buche in Accra says, so the mighty minority right in expressing its strong reservations on the diluted, lame anti-LGBTQ bill. And those are some of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. Prof. Intema says the MPP needs a level-headed person to lead them in Parliament. What's happening now is just embarrassing. And Sam Bannerman in the USA says it doesn't come to Ghanaians as a surprise how some of our politicians are preventing the signing of the anti-LGBTQ bill. Daniel is here. Let's do sports.
Yeah, let's start off with the Black Stars and their head coach, Carlos Queiroz. He's defended his decision to include Thomas Partey in Ghana's squad for the upcoming FIFA World Cup, despite the midfielder facing criminal charges in England. Speaking to the media earlier today after naming his final World Cup squad, Queiroz said his decision was guided by the legal principle that an individual is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Let's hear from the head coach.
As far as I know, in England, in Portugal, wherever we are living in this world until the court make a decision, the presumption of innocence, it is on the side of all court cases. But today, and this is not only about Thomas, very unfortunately, the way the social media and the media sometimes act with full and total impunity, we are condemned even before we have the opportunity to defend ourselves.
You had Black Stars head coach Carlos Queiroz speaking there. Also, the big news coming from camp is that vice captain Alexander Djiku has been ruled out for the tournament. He will not be part of the final squad to the FIFA World Cup. He's been replaced by Paphos defender Derek Lucasen in the Black Stars squad. Djiku suffered an injury at the tail end of last season, or this season, with his club side Spartak Moscow. And he was assessed by the Black Stars medical team, and unfortunately he will not be fit enough to be on the plane to North America. So he joins Mohamed Kudus, who also misses out on the tournament for the Black Stars. Ghana will face Wales tomorrow with live commentary on Joy FM and a live broadcast of the match on Joy Prime in their pre-World Cup friendly. And then they will plane to the United States of America, where they will face Panama, England and Croatia, and there are 3 group games at the FIFA World Cup. That's all for sports. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And Samuel Amenakpo from Akachi says Ghana and other African countries should cut ties with South Africa and isolate it. This will send a strong response to that country. Charles from Lagos says if President Akufo-Addo had the opportunity to sign a well-crafted bill into law but failed, then whom are the MPP blaming? This one says, where was the speaker when the bill of the LGBTQ was passed? He makes things very controversial. And Philip Yin says, please educate well-meaning Ghanaians that it was the NDC that sent the bill to former President Akufo-Addo and now sends a different bill to President Mahama or Parliament of Ghana, as the MPP wants us to believe.
So the president has been talking about the bill, and he talked about 2 issues that the minority has also raised. The fact that the bill, people say that the bill or Parliament, when at the time that they passed the bill, did not have a quorum to be able to do so, and that there are also some procedural lapses that needs to be looked at. Let's listen to him.
Parliament has been considering it, and it was supposed to have been passed last week. There have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed, and then 2, there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage. I just got some communication that the Speaker was reading a statement to address the issue of the lapses in the passage of the bill. And so, like I said, when I was the opposition leader, the president has a number of options in this matter. It must come for assent. And so once the president gets it, you go through it because you are not part of the discussion in Parliament. And so the legal representative, the legal counsel in the presidency and the Attorney General would sit on it because it was a private member's motion. Right. This was not a government bill. And so we'll look at it and make sure that everything is in order before the president is advised to assent. The president has another option if there are some things that he thinks are a problem. He can refer to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State is an advisory body to the president, and so they will take a look at it, and then they will advise the president. And if there are issues, substantial issues that are raised, the president would return the bill to Parliament, indicating exactly what the issues are. And so there's still quite a while to go before that bill becomes law.
Gemma, so that is the response of President John Mahama.
We heard from the co-sponsor, Reverend Intim Kojo. He says it's a coordinated scam.
Indeed.
Looking at what happened in Parliament on Friday and the response from the president and also the Speaker of Parliament. But those are his words, not mine.
Nana from Spintex Road also says, please can someone tell Reverend Intim Kojo to keep to the pulpit as he's causing too much confusion in Parliament. And Musa Batua in Aswasi says Reverend Tim Fojo and the MPP raised no objections during the committee meeting, but are now making political excuses to cover up their failure to sign the bill into law when they were in government. Matilda from Keta says, I have to thank Parliament, especially the majority, for the concerns about the human sexual rights and family values bill. That's it for Newsnight. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. I'm Kenneth, Gyasi.
My name is Gemma Appiah.
Don't forget to do the 2 this evening. Brush your teeth.